We are delighted that Minister Coveney has been able to join us this afternoon. The showcase could not happen without the government support it receives, and we thank Minister Coveney for this. I now would like to invite the Minister to please address us.
Thank you very much, Rosemary and Mary, for your invitation to showcase this year, the 48th year, but how it's evolved and developed and grown in that nearly half century. Showcase, I'm told, from both a number of the buyers as well as many of the exhibitors here, has been a huge success this year. And my department and I are delighted to have played a small part in that, and I can assure you of our continued support. I know that Showcase is the result of many months of hard work by all of its partners. These include Showcase Ireland's board, under its chair, Mary Palmer, Enterprise Ireland, Global Enterprise offices that work so closely with so many of the craft makers and designers up and down the country, the Design and Crafts Council, and of course the RDS. And you should all be very proud of what has been delivered this year, arguably the most successful showcase that we've ever seen. However, the real test has been the continued support of Showcase from craft makers and exhibitors, and from the thousands of buyers that have engaged this year, either in person or online, many of whom have travelled overseas to be here with us. I understand that the estimates in terms of the value of business done, even in the last few days, has well exceeded 20 million euros. And I think perhaps the craft and design sector does not get enough credit in terms of its role in the broader Irish economy in literally every parish in the country. And so that is why the almost 400 makers and designers that are exhibiting here, the in and around 4,000 buyers from about 25 different countries are a reminder of just how important this sector continues to be. And of course, this event is not just about the business that's done in these few days, it's also about building connections, relationships between makers and buyers with each other, and of course the long-term relationships that can often flow from that. It's also been a fantastic event in terms of actually gathering in person. A number of the exhibitors here have said that from a business point of view they had an interesting and challenging but often quite a positive period during the COVID period, when actually people reflected on what was important. People invested in their families, in their quality of life, in their home, in their community. People focused on buying local, perhaps, in a way that they didn't before. Wanting to support arts, craft, talent, design, innovation, in a way that perhaps they had a time to think about in a bit more detail while at home or unable to travel far from home. Showcase enables the connections that I talked about to hopefully bed in, and that's why Showcase Connect, the dance hall, the talk stage, have all been created to encourage and facilitate this connection between buyers and makers, and also between different exhibitors as they spark off each other, share ideas, and look to the future with a little more collective confidence. Craft and design is one of our key Indigenous enterprise sectors, make no mistake about that. It's widely distributed, with makers working mostly in smaller workshops up and down the country, running their own businesses, with their own teams and often their own families supporting them. They're providing important, not just financial return in terms of economic income, but also cultural identity within their communities. And we are talking about 18,000 enterprises here, about 54,000 people employed across this sector, with an overall turnover in the billions. This is a big, big part of the Irish economy in some ways, in the same way the hospitality sector, the food sector, the construction sector are, and often are focused on in terms of their scale. Whereas in many ways this sector is focused on in terms of its cultural contribution, its design contribution, and perhaps not enough in terms of its enterprise contribution as well, which I hope is something that the last few days has helped to address. Craft and design has been recognised as an important enterprise sector since the 1960s, the establishment of the then Kilkenny Design Workshops. In many ways, makers, designers, and our creative community help define our future heritage with their skill and creativity. This has become part of how we perceive ourselves, how we compete internationally for investment, and how we build a brand Ireland. In other words, when other people from other parts of the world think of Ireland, what do they think about it? The work that many of the exhibitors do here help to shape what that looks like in people's mindset. And not only is that good for business, but it's also good for how our little island in the middle of the Atlantic, which when I was in the Department of Foreign Affairs, we often referred to Ireland as an island in the centre of the world. And that in many ways is what this craft sector, this design sector, whether it's in the digital space, whether you're working with metals, with wood, with ceramics, with glass, whether it's other forms of fine art, or whether it's design in terms of textiles and clothing and so on. There is a brand Ireland that develops through the imagination and the talent and the heritage that most of the businesses here have been grown out of. And that has a value which is very hard to put a figure on. Trust me, when you travel through rural China, or Vietnam, or parts of the United States, or down to New Zealand and Australia, or across Europe, people think of Ireland through the products that we're seeing here being sold and designed and developed through a classically Irish way of thinking about our own heritage and how we express that through art and through copies. And that is enormously valuable in terms of the message that Ireland collectively sends to other parts of the world about who we are as a people. And the reason why it's so important is that Ireland is so much more than its population on this island. We actually are one of these almost unique peoples that actually has a global tribe across the world. Many, many more Irish people who call themselves Irish in terms of their heritage and origins than actually live on this island. And each time a new product breaks into an international market, we are reaching out to those people and reminding them of where they come from. And trust me, that's powerful. It's often more powerful than many of you realize as you look to get contracts and sell new products and new ideas. Craft and design needs the enterprise supports and mentoring, of course, that all business needs. And that are provided now by local enterprise offices and by Enterprise Ireland, who of course are represented very strongly here. They also need access to an education and training ecosystem that can sustain the long-term development of creative and craft skills. Skills that are hard to learn and certainly are not easily mastered. Normally that mastering happens over generations, not over months. I understand that proposals have now been developed by DCCI and launched to showcase for a craft and design academy to develop and provide this training ecosystem. I remember when we decided to put a food academy in place to try to do something similar. The idea was that we would create a centre of excellence where people with ideas could come and share those ideas and challenge others and create this creative and ambitious and positive space that will be educational but also commercial. A number of the elements will include a textile school in Cork and schools of ceramics and glass and jewellery and goldsmithing in Thomastown, County Kilkenny. This is an important long-term initiative for the sector and the design and craft community as a whole. I would also like to acknowledge and congratulate the winners in the Showcase 2023 Awards, including the Best Product and Showcase for Ongawa, Ironworks and Experience. And then Tom, was it Tom? What an ambassador for his products, I tell you what. You don't need Tom to forget me. So thank you, and if I, as an Irish person, was taken aback in a positive sense when we met and chatted, I can only imagine when our visitors from abroad are meeting Tom, they will carry home a message and an image in their minds of creativity, but also fun, which is a big part, actually, of what craft should be about. Fun, sustainability, modernity, culture, history, and personality, which is really ultimately what being Irish should be about. Finally, despite the uncertainties that we face, and we do face uncertainties, we're living in a world of crisis management almost every year. And we get that in the world of politics. Who would have thought in the last number of years, we've been through the COVID years, we've been through the Brexit years, we've been through a war on our continent that has added 80,000 people to our population. And who knows what's coming in 2023. The one thing we know for sure is that the unexpected will unfold, and we'll have to deal with it. We'll have to be resilient enough to find a way of doing that in a way that allows our talents and our people to be able to thrive in that adversity. And I think in the arts and craft sector, perhaps we are better equipped than in any other sector to do that, because of how embedded you all are in your own local communities, in your own local parishes, with the work that you do, the teams that you build, the families that support you, and look at how we take advantage of Hollywood blockbusters to sell more arm sweaters, or look at how we, in terms of the artistic stories that we can sell, we build businesses on the back of that. Look at how this sector is now reminding us all of the importance of sustainability in a way that perhaps we didn't appreciate 5 or 6 years ago. And showing us how that can be a commercial success as well as an important environmental consideration. And so, can I just finish by thanking everybody who's been part of Showcase in terms of organisation and management and structure. But in particular, can I thank all of our exhibitors and designers and craftspeople and makers. Your value, both collectively and individually, goes way beyond the value of your businesses. And never forget that, particularly in the difficult weeks and months that every business will have. And the resilience that you've shown in recent years and will continue to show through 2023, I hope can be strengthened by the work that I'm trying to do, that my department is trying to do, that our agencies are trying to do, so that we can try to provide the supports and mentoring and pathways to growth and expansion in new markets that can help the extraordinary businesses that you're trying to build be as successful as they possibly can be. So thank you to everybody. This has been a fantastic few days. It's my first showcase, but I can promise you it will not be my last. And can I just wish everybody here who's been exhibiting and indeed who's been buying a very successful 2023. Thank you very much.